Okay, everyone, today we will be finishing up our Roksies. This is what mine looks like after the hem has hung. As you can see, the blue layer has distorted a little more than the white layer. So we are going to even that up in the next step. You want these layers to be even whenever you hem them, or one side's going to bubble over and be visible on the other. So this is a crop, it's a short version, so I'm doing this on the table and just smoothing it flat and trimming. If you are doing the tank or dress option, you will want to mark the difference with tailor's chalk. Just do several marks. I'll do a little picture here because I also did this for my dress. You want to just do several marks in tailor's chalk everywhere that the dress is uneven, and then lay it flat whenever you actually go to do your trimming. As I said, with the crop, it will be a little easier because you're able to smooth it flat to see. If you're confused about all those little notches in my hem, it's because I had already sewn this before I realized that the hanging and trimming step was necessary. So it already had those clips in there, so I unclipped it and then went back and did the hanging step. And this is a picture of what my marks look like on my dress version. So you would just go around as it's hanging and mark where that blue, in my case, hits the yellow, and then trim off the yellow at that point. And a quick side note as I speed this up, the blue is a rayon challis and the white is a crepe de chine, and all of my rayon distorted way more than my crepes. So in the case where I was sewing a rayon to a crepe silk or poly, I had to cut the rayon way more. So now it's time for the fun and slightly tricky part, the hem. So we're going to start at a side seam just for a starting point, and you're going to put your hand in between the two layers and grab a hold of each side seam, pulling them inwards so that the right sides are facing each other, and then just flip it inside out. And this is where we are going to start stitching. It's not going to completely fall inside out, so you're going to have to kind of pull and guide this as you go. And there are those notches in the hem so that you're making sure that everything is aligning where it's supposed to align. And of course you are going to want to leave about a 4-inch opening. There's my opening there. You're going to want to leave about a 4-inch opening in that hem. And I like to stitch out, let me see if you can see this. I like to stitch out straight towards the raw edge at my opening. That's going to help you a lot whenever you flip this right side out and want to finish that seam. And this is a curved edge, so we are going to go and take little V notches all out of the whole hem. And then we are going to flip it inside out. So from that opening you left, stick your hand in there. If you can, stick your whole hand. If not, just stick your fingers in and grab whatever you can and push the whole thing through. Now, if you were to try to just completely like flip the top or tank inside with right sides facing and do the hem, it wouldn't work. You have to do it this way or you won't be able to turn it right side out. It'll be stuck in a weird tube the other way. So fun! We are almost done. Now we want to press this edge to make it really crisp. And I recommend separating the layers like this so that you can press down flat on that seam to really separate the two layers, and then folding it the correct way. Again, I'm just demonstrating the pressing flat and then folding it the correct way and pressing on top of that seam to get a really crisp edge. And this is what it's going to look like when you're done. I love the way this clean finished hem looks. If you don't love it, you might want to just baby hem each layer and let them flow freely. But I like the all-in-one hem because whenever the dress sort of flips around, you really get to see that underneath color, and I think that's a fun aspect. So lastly, we are going to close up our opening, and we're just going to do this by hand stitching. This is going to be what I know as a slip stitch, which is just going to be a very sneaky little stitch that won't be visible from either side of the garment, but it will keep our garment closed. This stitch, of course, is not for strength. We don't really need it to be strong, we just need it to stay closed. So I am going to go underneath my seam allowance there, and my thread is knotted, and I want my needle to come out right at the fold of that fabric. And you're just going to catch a little bit. You don't want to go through to the self. You're really just kind of stitching the seam allowances together, and you're going to catch each color, each side, each layer, whatever you want to call it. It's really hard coming up with terminology. Describing sewing things is hard. So you are just catching a bit of each layer with your needle, and you are going to continue this until your opening is closed and not at the end. And your Roksi's done! Now is the time to put it on, twirl around, do a happy dance or two. I can't wait to see all of your Roksi variations. Thank you so much for joining me on this sew along, and happy sewing. Be sure to check the blog tomorrow for styling tips.